אשר קרישה במשפטיו, וציוונו לעסוק בדברי תורה. לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. Are you guys smoking?
No.
So then, we'll wait another 5 or 10 minutes. We may close that door to make it warmer. So, Pesach. We're not going to get through this entire handout of 14 pages. Okay, we're not. And people who are zooming, if you could be here, you should be here if you live in Los Angeles. We're not going to get through it, but we're going to start and talk about what Passover is. Passover is the most celebrated holiday in Judaism. Even the Jew who does nothing does a Passover. So let us begin, excuse me, to start to understand the holiday, but also to start to understand the month of the holiday. Because, we talk about Pesach, we talk about the first night, we talk about the second night, and then we talk about the last night, although, so Reformed congregation only talks about the first night, and most conservative and Orthodox congregations only talk about the first and second night. And then if you've done studying, you realize there's a last night. But there's actually a whole month of Nisan, which is the month that we're in, the month of the Lamb, of the bull. So, who would like to start reading on the beginning of page 1? There's tequila, there's alcohol, there's food,
To prepare ourselves to receive the blessings of Passover, we must understand that not just the holiday of Passover, but this entire month of Nisan, the month of Passover, is holy, and historically has been filled with miraculous events even beyond the Passover. There is inherent power in the astrological understanding of this month. One of the reasons being that according to Rabbi Joshua ben Hananiah in the Talmud, RH 10b,
Rosh Hashanah, page 10b, because I like to source things.
The universe was actually created on the 1st of Nisan. It is a month of empowering people, both the people and the nation state of Israel. More about this month will be discussed later, but other blessings, miracles that occurred during this month include.
So these are some of the things that happened during this month of Nisan. There is food, ladies. There is booze, lady.
Cookies.
There's cookies, ladies. There's pizza, ladies. There's good booze, lady. Are you cold?
No, I'm good.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, you got jackets. Okay. All right. So these are things that happened in this miraculous month. It's a pretty impressive month. Go ahead. Go.
The day the floodwaters receded from the earth, God made the covenant of Abraham, giving Israel to the Jewish people. Jacob wrestled with an angel, and his name was changed to Israel. The Mishkan, the Holy Tabernacle, was inaugurated. In 701 BCE, the Syrian army of the Sennacherib, which had threatened Jerusalem, was destroyed. Rabbi Nachman of Breslov was born. The ancient Hebrews, led by Joshua, crossed the Jordan River into Canaan. Maimonides was born. The Warsaw Ghetto Uprising began. Noah's Ark rested on Mount Ararat. The Red Sea split. Joshua won the Battle of Jericho. In 1799, during the Siege of Acre, Napoleon issued a proclamation to the Jews of Palestine promising the reestablishment of ancient Jerusalem, coupled with a plea for their support. This was the first promise by a modern government to establish a Jewish state. The holiday of Passover. In modern times, the holiday of Yom HaShoah U'Gvura was established.
And that's the holiday. We'll talk about this later. Rob, you're not smoking? Smoking is on this side.
Oh, I don't smoke.
Or on the wrong side?
Randy always smokes.
No one's smoking. Okay. So, am I the only one smoking?
No one's smoking.
I'm the only one smoking. Okay. But we may open and close the garage and open that door. You know something that's common with all these different things?
They happen during the sun.
They happen during the sun. And they have to do with the freedom of the people of Israel, the Jewish people of the nation of Israel, and both spiritually and physically, We defeated the Assyrian army, the Warsaw Ghetto. We crossed the Jordan. We won the Battle of Jericho. Napoleon. All these different things. This is a month of freedom, and that freedom may come easily or may come with challenges, but it does come. Okay, who wants to continue? So we get this. This is a holy month. This whole time is a holy month. Who wants to continue? You know what? Why don't either Lexi or Emma
I think Lexi really wants to.
read about the hunt for chametz? Because Kim, you told me that they're going to be doing it, right?
Yeah, sure.
Let's see. Let's go to
Nice and loud, right?
We're the hunt for chametz before the Seder even begins. We are obligated to remove all chametz from our home prior to the day before Erev Pesach. This year, that means by Sunday.
Actually, that's wrong. I'm sorry. I should have fixed that. That means by Friday.
This year, that means by Friday. If we are keeping any chametz in the home, we are to lock it up or tape shut the pantry door so that it's inaccessible during the holiday. And then we are to sell all of it to a non-Jewish friend or I'm guessing they mean or neighbor.
Correct.
And then purchase it back after the holiday.
So one of the ways you can not get rid of everything is you can sell it to a non-Jew. You got to lock it up so you can't get into it, and then sell it to a non-Jew. Okay. I'm going to tell you a challenge that I learned with this process. Because you can't own any chametz. Many years ago, I taped all of my chametz up, and I put it in a pantry, and taped the door, and I sold it to a friend. And at the end of, and I sold it to him for $1. You make a whole list of it, and it's a whole contract. You make a whole list. This is what I'm selling to you for $1. And now it was after Passover, and I said, "Okay, here's your $1. I want to buy it back." He goes, "No, I want to keep it. I want to sell it at a profit."
Some friend.
To which he wanted to give me abuse about it. So I said, "That's fine, but I've been charging you rent." So he ended up selling it back for $1. But that's one way you can do it. The idea is to not own any chametz. Please continue.
We are to consciously leave 10 grams of chametz in the house. On
Okay.
the night prior
So you clean everything out. You consciously leave 10 crumbs hanging out somewhere. Go ahead.
On the night prior to Erev Pesach, we are to chametz hunt by candlelight for the 10 crumbs and collect them. We are to collect them in a rag and burn them all in the morning of Erev Pesach.
So you traditionally take a candle and a feather and a rag, and you find the 10 crumbs and you put them all in the rag with the feather. You put it all up, and in the morning you burn them. It's a chametz hunt. It's a lot of fun. Go on. It is.
This is all symbolic of removing arrogance, remembering the power of the 10 plagues and 10 commandments, and truly cleaning ourselves prior to the holiday.
Keep going.
This year, we need to have specific kavanah intention when burning the 10 crumbs. We need to focus on burning all the evil of Hamas and all in the world to create a new world of peace.
It's important. It's really important. Okay. Did you get your cigars up here? Okay, so this is the first thing, is to get rid of all the chametz. The chametz. What is chametz? What is it? Literally.
What is hummus?
What is chametz?
It's peas. What do you call peas?
Well, no,
It's ground up.
it's no, not hummus.
Oh. That's a picture.
We're going to have some hummus in a couple of months. No,
All right.
chametz is
That's funny. I thought that's
all
nice.
the bread, all the stuff that you got to remove from the house. Okay, and it's the thing to understand is it's what adds size but no substance.
Say that again?
It adds size but no substance. When you put yeast into, who bakes? Okay, so when you put yeast into something, you make it into a cake, right? Or it
bread
rises.
Or whatever, yeah.
It rises. You don't put the yeast, it's the same amount of substance. Did Debbie go? Oh, okay. I'm going to say, no, you're wrong. So it adds size, size, but it doesn't add any substance, does it? Just makes it puffier.
Okay, yeah.
Okay? That's all it does. That's all it really does. And I mean, it makes it tastier or whatever else, but it makes it puffier. And so the idea is to remove our puffiness from ourselves. Matzah is the essence of bread in a certain level, but it's especially shawarma matzah. It's dense. It's heavy. It's flat.
Tasteless.
It's shawarma matzah is great. You don't like shawarma matzah? I love shawarma. Do you like shawarma matzah?
The best.
Okay. Do you guys know what shawarma matzah is?
We have it for our Seder.
Would you be kind enough, love, to please get a box of shawarma matzah?
It's like cardboard.
Matzah tastes like cardboard. Shawarma matzah tastes like the essence of life.
How come the Manischewitz egg and onion matzah is not kosher from Pesach?
Because it's made with lots of other things.
I think it makes a really good pizza. With
Shawarma matzah is okay. So the idea you want to get rid of during this time period, we all have a level of puffiness. It's not our essence. It's adds size, but it's not our essence. It's not who we are at the simplest level. So that's part of what the chametz stuff is. Okay, let's talk about maror. So even before reading, what's maror on the Passover plate? The bitter herbs. So this is shmura matzah. Thank you. This is shmura matzah. It has not been around since it was harvested, since the grain was harvested. It has not been around for more than 17 minutes and 59 seconds. And shomer means protect, and shmor means it has been guarded or protected.
You sure Shmar doesn't just mean overpriced?
One might think that, especially each year it gets heavier. Shmor matzah you can get in all sorts of price frames depending on where you are and when you are. So this is shmor matzah. So love, we have another box too, right?
We do,
And you can see how well it's protected too. This is made by hand the same way it's been made for 3,500 years. So this is shmor matzah. You're doing your best Vanna White impersonation.
I'm sorry, we should react to that.
Price is right. How much? Okay. I'm going to give this back to you. This is shmor matzah. It is made by hand. Now you know where the Catholic wafer really comes from. Because this is what it looked like. Not Manischewitz. I mean Manischewitz. Okay? And if anyone would come up from Motzi Lachem, which you can do right now. You cannot do this. If someone knows must have. Pass it around.
You're not supposed to eat matzah
You're not supposed to eat it the night before.
the night before.
Some people say that either way we're fine.
Well, I don't care. My parents eat matzah all year round, so I buy the 5-pound thing, and at the end of Passover, I give it all to them.
So this is shmor. Okay. So I have a question. The bitter herbs are about bitterness, right? So there are 5 bitter herbs. Don't look at the paper, right? There's lettuce, chicory, horseradish, endives, wormwood. Which is better? Which is a better bitter herb to have, do you think? Lettuce or spicy horseradish?
Horseradish.
Who says horseradish?
Lettuce.
Who says lettuce?
I already read your thing. It's online.
No, be pleased. She read your thing. Hello?
Then would you be kind of to continue reading about at the bottom of page 2 about the 5 types of maror in order of preference?
The 5 types of maror, in order of preference, are lettuce, chicory, horseradish, endive, wormwood. The lettuce, which is least bitter, is most preferred. Why? Because it is tasteless and is compared to the slavery of assimilation. We don't even realize how bitter our lives have become as we get used to it. And the bitterness of assimilation becomes impossible to notice.
Isn't that great?
Yeah.
Isn't that intense? As opposed to, I always grew up that, the spicier the horseradish, the better.
Yeah.
Not the case. Okay, I have a question. Am I the only person smoking tonight?
No.
You are as well. Okay. close the door and just stop. Okay, and he's okay.
The Byrne family lights up.
There you go. So I was taught the spicy one.
Mhm.
That's what Mom told me. It's not the case. Isn't that interesting? Go on, please continue. As we start to talk about the maror.
As we start to talk about the maror at the Seder, we need to discuss why the lettuce is most preferred. Let this lead then to a discussion about how the challenges we are having with Hamas, Hezbollah, Gaza started as lettuce and have only become most bitter since October 7th.
Do you guys realize that? 5 years ago, it's, oh, there are nice neighbors. It doesn't matter what Hamas says, there are nice neighbors.
We
We
also,
just want peace, right? Ignoring the fact that in the covenant they want us dead. Go on.
Yes, right. We also need to realize that in 1964, when the concept of Palestine was created, we, the Jews and Israel, ignored the lies and propaganda and let it build up over the years until this big lie has become an accepted truth. Like the slaves of old, we let the bitterness become deeper and bigger rather than stopping it when it first started.
Does that make sense to everyone? We have now generations who believe that Palestine is a nation that has existed forever. Allison was talking with a mutual friend today. He's not Jewish. He knew nothing about that. As far as he knew, what's the problem? Palestine is filled with nice people, and they just want peace.
That's right.
That's true.
He's got 2 kids in college, but they're not Jewish,
Yeah.
so he doesn't know what's going on. Honestly, why should he? Right? It's not as so. We should have stopped it when it was lettuce before it became bitter horseradish. Please continue.
When eating the moror this year, do the following. Make the Hillel sandwich of moror and charoset as you always do. But this year, put as many different types of bitter herbs as you can into that sandwich. And put so much charoset in the sandwich that the sweetness overwhelms the bitter. Yes, that means it will be a much bigger Hillel sandwich this year than in the past.
In other words, we want to get rid of the bitterness of Hamas, and one way to do it on a spiritual level is to put all the different types of bitterness to this we can find and overwhelm it with horosis. Now, some of people, how many of you do horosis with apples and walnuts? Okay, how many of you do Persian or Sephardic horosis? How many of you do both?
Keep going.
California. What is California horosis?
Avocado and figs and almonds.
Come on over.
Okay. I've never thought about this. So it is horosis. If you have not had one or the other, you should try both because they're both amazing in different ways. I prefer the heavy date fig.
Do you put orange in yours? You put a bit of wine.
You put orange peel, right? You
I
put
don't
orange
put
wine, don't you?
No. If I make it,
Blasphemy.
I put pomegranate, molasses in it.
Oh, okay.
You guys speak louder.
I don't want to.
Well, okay. So Orlando will put the camera on.
Sorry.
Anyway,
No, let it go.
Okay, so you can email for Allison's horosis recipe in an email. Okay. All right, please continue.
We need to make sure to cover 3 topics during the night.
Okay, so
Pesach.
there's halacha and there's mincha. Okay, halacha is a couple is married if they have a ketubah, if they have an exchange of something valuable, and if they make love. You do those 3 things, you're married. Okay, that's Jewish law. But minhag is who would think it's a Jewish wedding if you didn't have the 7 blessings, if you didn't have a chuppah, if you didn't break the glass, right? So there's what's required and then what has become custom and is accepted. 3 things are required on Passover. Okay, please continue.
Evil passes over the Jewish people as long as they are true to their path. This is important this year as we need to remember that our biggest ally is God. And the best thing each of us diaspora Jews do for the war effort right now is to be Jewish. Take on one extra mitzvah during this war, keeping kosher, lighting candles, lighting Havdalah, wrapping tefillin, etc. Passover teaches us that evil will always pass over us if we are true to our path.
And when we're not true, what happens throughout our history of 3,000 years? Bad things. Just the reality. Okay, so you got to have a Passover. Go on.
Matzah, time. Time is precious. If matzah is made in 17 minutes and 59 seconds, it is kosher for Passover. 1 second more, and it is considered chametz and not fit for the Seder. We need to encourage each other to act with alacrity as our ancestors did in getting out of Egypt. When you see something that is Jew-hating, anti-Israel, call it out immediately. Do something to stop it immediately. Time is of the essence, especially when we are hoping to achieve a goal of freedom or peace.
And that's really true, isn't it? Because all of a sudden you let it slide, and now it's gotten so big it doesn't slide anymore. Please continue.
More assimilation. See above. The added practice above is one of the most powerful things you can do during Passover to help defeat the evil of Hamas and others.
So, Pesach affects the world, not just ourselves. And what we do affects it. And the more we're conscious of it, the more it affects ourselves and the world. Does that make sense to everyone? Abraham Joshua Heschel said that either prayer means everything or it means nothing. When we do our rituals, when we do Passover, either it is real for us or it's just a show. Now, if it's just a show, the idea is you do the show and you fake it till you make it. That you're going to do it and it's going to click something inside of you. But the goal is to do it at the deepest, most authentic, real level that we possibly can. That is the only way to really let the ritual of Pesach and the Seder not only pass through us, but pass through our people and the world. Who would like to read on page number 4 some insights from Hasidic masters? If no one wants to, we can always volunteer. Emma, go ahead, Fiona.
Some insight from Hasidic masters. According to the Holy Kabbalah, the first night, the matzah is called food of faith. The second night, it's called food of health. Don't miss an ounce of the second night, even if you are alone. From a text sent to Rabbi Barclay to Rabbi Shlomo Schwartz on Thursday, April 21st, 2016.
So we're going out of town for Pesach. And I still have the phone. I've kept the phone, Allison, because of texts that I would get from Schwartzy. I hadn't talked to him in months. How many of you knew Schwartzy? Okay. And we're going out of town, and quite honestly, I didn't want to deal with the whole second night Seder stuff. It's a pain in the neck. Kids were 6. Okay. It's a pain in the neck. We're going out of town. We're going to do first night Seder. And then out of the blue, I get this text from Schwartzy. No matter where you are, you must make sure that you have the second night, even if you are alone. Get some shmor matzah. Do nothing else. Have some on the first night, even if you don't do a second night Seder. Have some shmor matzah on the second night. It is the food for health, and extremely important. Please continue.
Rabbi Nachman taught that we should be careful not to be so stringent in our practice that we become depressed rather than uplifted. He was especially clear about this concept in Passover, where many people went so far in observing the many fine points of custom that they were actually depressed by the holiday.
Okay, so this is to add to our enjoyment, our appreciation of life, not take away from it. And when it starts to take away from it, something's wrong. Okay, and this is we should not be so stringent. We should allow ourselves to enjoy it. Please go on.
The Hassam Sofer, 18th century, made a habit of immediately drinking coffee as soon as the Seder was finished.
And I would add that it should be from Café du Monde and chicory coffee, since chicory is one of the bitter herbs. How many of you had Café du Monde chicory coffee? There you go. It's delicious, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right. Okay, go on, please.
He would then stay up with his children and students, discussing and studying about Passover until sleep overwhelmed them. Take this habit and adapt it to your own family, to our own family. Watch Prince of Egypt, or discuss what it means to be free with your family members after the Seder. Don't let the conclusion of Haggadah end the evening. Rather, let the Seder meal begin the deeper understanding of what freedom means. This year, study the history of the region of Israel and the fallacy of Palestine after the Seder, as well as the covenant of 1988 Charter of Hamas, so that you are aware and can intelligently convey the truth. Here are some resources for you online.
Oh, look, citation. Okay, so that you can do that. There's also a series of articles on our temple website that I wrote when the war started about the historical realities of Palestine, Hamas, Israel, etc., and our obligation to destroy Hamas. Please continue.
There are three things for which man has destructive appetites. They are money, sex, and food. Through the three festivals, these three appetites can be rectified. Pesach is the rectification of money. It is thus written, God gave people favor in the sight of the Egyptians so that they let them have what they asked. Exodus 36. The Egyptians, their enemies, gave the Israelites gold and silver against their will, since they did not want it at all. This is therefore a rectification for the appetite of money. Shavuot is the rectification for sex, and Sukkot for food and greed. We will study those passages more during those festivals.
If you have some money problems, if you are in a position where you're always scared you're not going to have enough money, I love the story. A couple every month they fight over they don't have enough money to pay their bills. Every month, how are we going to keep paying more? They've been doing it for 30 years. Okay, sound familiar to anyone? So, any of those kind of issues, observe Pesach more diligently because it rectifies the feeling. Correct. Please continue. Actually, that's the first. Who else now wants to read at the bottom of page 5? Some modern ideas for Passover play. Who else? Go.
Orange, the myth that is that a man.
So some people put an orange. How many of you have seen a Passover play with an orange on it? How many of you put an orange on your Passover play? Okay, let's see why.
The myth is that a man said to Susanna Heschel, the daughter of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, that a woman belongs on the pulpit like an orange belongs on the Seder plate. As part of the feminist movement of the late 20th century, some families place an orange on the plate to symbolize that women do in fact belong on the pulpit.
We do not do that in our home. Why? Because it's not a question whether women belong on the pulpit. It's discussed in the Talmud. So 2,000 years ago, there were women rabbis. So why make it into an issue that it's not? Better to say, I don't need to do this kind of statement. Here's the text. Right? Isn't that a little bit more effective than having an orange on it? Okay. Continue.
Miriam's cup of water, a
We do.
glass or cup of water placed next to Elijah's cup. This is to symbolize the importance of Miriam's well, which kept the Hebrews nurtured throughout their journey in the desert. Some people will hold it up at the beginning of telling the story when Miriam is mentioned for placing Moses in the water with the following words: Zot kos Miriam kos mayam haim zekler el Mitzrayim. This is the cup of Miriam, the cup of living waters. Let us remember the Exodus from Egypt.
It's nice, a big cup of water, like Elijah's cup. Go on with the next one. It's actually not the last 3 years now. It's more like the last 5 to 10 years. But go ahead.
Ruth's cup. In the last 3 years,
5 to 10.
5 to 10, some very liberal communities have placed a cup of wine for Ruth on the table. This is to symbolize inclusiveness, specifically for the LGBTQ community. The challenge with this theologically is that it adds a 6th cup of wine, which takes away from the entire balance of God's name, and more importantly, that it separates and points out a distinct part of the community.
So we're going to study a little bit why we have the cups of wine that we have, and the exact number. By adding an extra cup, you're messing with the whole Kabbalah, the whole spirituality of it. But go on.
The story of Ruth is specifically and directly in opposition to this concept. The story is about a stranger integrating into Judaism, not Judaism integrating and distinguishing that separateness of a stranger by making the LGBTQ community member distinct and a special observance. it actually precludes integration into Judaism and stops the concept of Passover that, quote, we are all strangers in a strange land, and that we will all come together.
Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. It's kind of like, even when people tell me that they converted to Judaism, I often just forget about it. Because they're a Jew. There's no distinction, right? We don't say, this table is for people who were born Jewish. This table is people who have Jewish mothers but non-Jewish fathers. This is for Jewish fathers with non-Jewish mothers. This table is for people who did a conversion to the Orthodox world. We're all Jews. If someone's gay, they're gay. If someone's lesbian, they're lesbian. If they're whatever gender issue, whatever they are. If they're a Jew, they're a Jew. Does it matter what their sexuality is? They're Jew. So do we need to say, oh, we're all Jews, and you're a special Jew, right? I'm not pointing at anyone in particular. You're a special Jew, right? For whatever reason, we don't do that. That's not who we are. Okay? Yes.
I was just gonna say, is it okay to go back a little bit?
Yeah.
The orange thing, I understood, was never meant to be a woman on the pulpit. That's always been, as you pointed out,
That's the myth that's always been
misunderstanding.
told, yeah.
And the orange had different meaning, so we put it on our Seder plate.
What meaning have you ever heard from it? Because the only one that always is used is someone said to Susanna Heschel.
And Susanna Heschel said it was different, and I have that story at home.
Right.
So I'm happy to tell it to you, but I want to do it accurately. So that story is not what I understand Heschel said. It had nothing to do from Heschel's point of view with a woman on the
But
pulpit.
she's not the one who put it on, right? The story is a myth that someone said it to her.
Yeah, but she's the one, yes, she pointed out, no, because a woman on the pulpit is not new. But the orange is there for a different reason, and I tried to think of it for the last 3 minutes, and I can't.
Oh, I'd
think of
love to know what it is. I'd love to know.
And I
what
want
it
to give it to you accurately.
is. Yeah, so I'll add it
Rather
in.
than flap and say, here's what it is, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a myth that's the whole story, but that's the.
And I'll have to pull out my Haggadah book and I'll read it, I'll tell you, but I don't,
What you got?
no, well,
One that we made.
the
Oh, okay.
Haggadah I have is sheets of paper put into a book.
Got it. Okay, got it. I didn't know if someone printed it. Yeah, no, I'd love to know
No,
what that is.
no.
I'd love
Every year's different.
I'd love to know what it is. Okay, other foods and I could really love to add that too. Other foods and customs.
Other foods and customs, cucumber slices to serve as the zerah, or arm or God.
The arm of God. Sorry,
Arm
not
of
typo, but
God.
that was somehow. And so it's you put a cucumber slices, and it's the arm of God that redeems you. Okay, go on.
Celery dipped in vinegar instead of parsley in salt water.
No way I'm tasting that, but okay.
That sounds pretty good.
Why? Yeah, exactly.
Scallions to whip each other with during the recitation of the 10 plagues or the singing of Diana.
Who's done that? And what do you do traditionally when you're done whipping? No. No. You can't turn the camera on her, but she can answer that question. Go on. He's not. You can't turn the camera on her.
Throw them over your shoulder.
So you whip her, and you throw them all over the place over behind you.
So it makes a mess, but there's a meaning behind it.
Right, because you don't want the evil. It's behind you. It's never going to come in front of you. So
It's Persian.
it's
Yeah,
Persian.
We just learned that we had some.
Last year we had some Persian friends for Seder,
And I didn't
and
know, I'm like, oh my gosh.
So, because one of my Persian friends had told me they do this, but that if you
Don't beat,
it stains your clothing if you beat people with
right.
it.
No, it does.
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And I didn't know about the throwing it.
Yeah, it's a
getting rid of
bleach.
it.
It's massive.
Yeah.
Okay, please continue.
In Gibraltar,
This is one of my personal favorites.
in Gibraltar, a small bit of actual brick dust is added to the haroset. The Seder leader also runs 3 times around the table when the Haggadah says, "We left Egypt in a hurry," holding the Seder plate and hitting each person's head lightly with it while passing by them.
Yes.
I want to do a Seder. My kids won't let me. I really like the idea of having a little bit of brick dust, right? Because it's supposed to be more. And then walking around and hitting everybody.
Knock your head. I love it.
Kim's going, ooh, just like this one. Oh, he's gonna
If you like the movement, when we did a Seder one year early on, and the Jews, the Hebrews left Canaan to go to the land of Egypt,
right.
I said to everybody, get up. And they all looked at me. And I said to them again, get up. You'd think I would be able to speak English fluently. Apparently not. Get up! And that finally they started getting up. You have a folding chair, take it with you. Let's go to the backyard. And she had laid out a script. We already said the blessing over the matzah, so we could have snacks. And then on the way back in, we had red sheets and towels on either side because of the parting of the Red Sea. We came back in to finish the first half of that.
See, that's a beautiful custom. You make your own.
We had little kids on the side waving the red flags. It was kind of.
See, that's a very cool thing.
But no one wanted to leave it. For the next 5 years, they all left. Wait, we're not going out this year. Too bad, we're going out. Okay.
It's a good thing, though. I once knew people who walked around the swimming pool at that point.
We don't have this one. Move up.
But that's what they did.
Go ahead.
I saw a hand over here. No, it was just pizza. Okay. It was a hand. It was Emma.
Wave the pizza. Take a picture.
All right, go on. Keep going.
In Syria, there is a custom of putting matzah in a knapsack and carrying it while the Haggadah story of exiting Egypt is told.
Okay.
In Hungary, people bring all of their jewelry and put it on the Seder plate as a symbol of the golden rings that were given to the Hebrews upon exiting Egypt.
It is then given to the local synagogue, which is why the synagogues are so well off in Hungary. Go on.
Hasidic Jews from the Polish town of Gora Kalwaria, known as Gerir Hasids, reenact the crossing of the Red Sea on the seventh day of Passover by pouring water on the floor, lifting up their coats, and naming the towns that they would cross in the region of Poland. They raise a glass at each, quote, town, then thank God for helping them reach their destination. This is a small adaptation of the Kabbalistic last Seder that is done by our mystics as we embark on the journey of counting the Omer, awakening our Sephirot, and choosing the freedom of the desert as opposed to the velvet prison of Egypt.
So it's a beautiful, beautiful custom as well. All right, who wants to read more about the month of Nisan? Go.
The Mazal constellation of the month of Nisan is Talah, the lamb or kid, Sefer Yetzirah 5:9. This relates to the Akedah, the binding of Isaac, who was born in Nisan. Nisan is the Rosh Hashanah for kings.
So it's the New Year for kings.
Okay. Jeremiah said that Israel was like scattered sheep. But in Nisan, this metaphor is extended as an understanding that in this month, which has lambs as its Mazal constellation, the people of Israel gather together and unite in the nature of lambs. The month of Nisan corresponds to the letter He. From this letter is created all the open space, deep oceans, humans, and all other creatures, according to Rashi Menachos 29b. It combines the letter Dalet, which is the letter of creation for this world, and Yod, which is the letter of the world to come. Moreover, Sefer Yetzirah teaches that He was enthroned upon speech and is the month of Judah, from whom the kingship is descended.
We're in the northern hemisphere. Do you recognize the constellation of the line? Can you show it to us later?
I can't recognize it because I know nothing about astrology. There is, however, a program that you can put on your phone called Stargazer that you just hold up and it tells you where every constellation is, or you can look for a constellation if it's down here and it's on the other side of the planet. But you can actually, and it identifies all of it. You actually have it. Okay, go on.
This means that through a conscious telling speech of Passover Seder, we are able to access all of creation and our sovereignty.
We need to speak. We need to say our truth. We need to say our words. All right, who wants to continue reading on page number 8? Shir Hasharim. Okay, go ahead.
Shir Hasharim, the Song of Songs. It is customary to study the biblical book, Song of Songs, during Passover. This is the love sonnet between God and Israel, couched in the language of the love between a man and a woman. The Exodus is the great example of God choosing our people, and we need to individually experience God's love for us during this holiday. Take the time during or after the Seder and or throughout the holiday to express the different ways that God demonstrates his love for you as an individual. List out the many ways and emotionally experience for all the gifts you have received, for all the gifts you have. Recognize that even painful experiences are also gifts from God. Without the suffering, the ancient Hebrews would not have cried out for freedom. They would have simply assimilated into Egyptian society. Really take an accounting of the many gifts from God over this past year. Then take time to review how you express and demonstrate your love for God. Are you repaying God's immense love for you with actions that are just as devoted to God? Look at the intimate language of Song of Songs. Are you holding up your end of the relationship? And how can you personally be a better partner with God?
Song of Songs. So, in the section of Ketuvim, the writing section of the Tanakh, there are 3 books of poetry. There are 5 scrolls associated with 5 holidays, and then there's what's called the other writings. That's how it's traditionally taught by academics, although the whole book that I wrote 13 years ago is a whole book that's wrong, and there's another thread. The Talmud says there's another thread, a different way of looking at it. But there are 5 books in there that are associated with different holidays that we read at different holidays. As an example, what book do we read at Purim? Megillah Esther. What do we read at Sukkot? Ecclesiastes. Okay. What do we read at Shavuot? The Book of Ruth. Right? When do we read Song of Songs? Passover. Why? On Passover, we become engaged with God. We become betrothed to God. God chooses us, and we choose God. And that's the betrothal. The wedding takes place on Shavuot. That's the wedding night. We talked about that. This is the betrothal. And then the entire engagement period is the counting of the Omer, from Passover to Shavuot. And so we read Song of Songs. But this is a rhetorical question no one needs to answer. How often do we really feel as if God has chosen each of us as individuals and loves us? How often do we really feel that feeling of contentment and safety and freedom and love and passion and joy and connection that only comes in an intimate relationship, in this case, intimacy with God? That's what Passover is about. You fall in love with someone. So you love him for his essence. Not for the mask that he wears out here. Not for his comments. You love his matzah. Right?
Yeah.
You love his essence. And if you only fall in love with the comments, with the surface, with the projections, with the masks, how long is that going to last, and how good is that going to, how long does that last, and you know, not going to work very well, is it? Essence. Passover is about being in touch with our essence. God, for all of my foibles, you were supposed to say, honey, you don't have any.
Honey, you don't have it.
Thank you. And you threw your voice and lowered that.
I love that.
For all of my foibles, God loves me. Right? That's awesome. Isn't it? But how often do we feel that? For most of us, not enough of the time, right? Can we all agree on that? Passover is the time to find our essence and let ourselves feel God's love, immense and intense love for us. And the only way you can respond to that love when you feel it is by loving back. That's why in the service structure we have this prayer, Ahavat Olam, the love that God has for us, the idea of feeling it. Then we have the Shema, that we're unified. And then what's the very next thing? The Ve'ahavta. We love back. We want to teach and love back. Passover is very much about love in that way. All right, who wants to? We're gonna skip over to the teachings from Abraham. You're gonna keep them, and we're gonna, because they're very intense. And hopefully he will be healthy enough that we can see him at the holidays. Someone please turn to page 10. And who wants to read the last night of Passover? Let's have another Seder. Who wants to read? Otherwise I have to pick on Emma, and then she gets cranky. Go on, who wants to read? She picked you, not me. Oh, that's okay. Me, I'm in trouble. You, it's fine.
Passover, let's have another Seder. The
It's
second,
okay. No, it's okay.
the second major climax of the Pesach celebrations comes on the seventh day of the festival, recalling the splitting of the Red Sea, which the children of Israel crossed on dry land while the Egyptians were finally destroyed. The time of the parting of the waters was one of the most striking historical exceptions to the normal workings of nature, showing that God is in total control of every part of creation, making and suspending the laws of nature at will. The seventh day of Pesach is an appropriate time to reflect on God's control of natural processes and the concept of miracles. It is also a time for looking forward to the Messianic redemption that we are now awaiting, healing the restoration of the Holy Temple and bringing the world to be filled with the knowledge of God as the waters cover the seas.
Go on, keep on.
The last night of Passover is the evening when our ancestors stood at the edge of the sea
Bless you.
with the Egyptian army behind them. It is the time when that generation experienced the parting of the sea and the total redemption from slavery. They entered into wilderness of freedom. And it is an ancient custom from the mystical tradition of Judaism that we hold yet another Seder that night, so we can carry the teachings of Passover with us. Before going further, it is useful to understand the length of Passover holiday.
How many of you guys have questions about when does Passover end? We know when it begins. When does it end? I get that call every year from people. Rabbi, when does Pesach over? Please answer.
In Israel, it is 7 days long, as commanded in the Torah. Because of potentially getting the date wrong in the diaspora, Passover is 8 days long here. Some Reformed Jews choose to observe it 7 days even in the diaspora, and more observant diaspora Jews observe 8 days of the Passover holiday.
Does that make sense? So in Israel, 7 days. That's what we're commanded, 7 days. Right? But when you're outside of Israel, since you don't know, we're not sure if the moon, because it's all based on lunar, what we can and can't see about the new moon. And so therefore, to make sure we don't screw up, that's why we have an 8th day to this. Okay? But Reformed Jews say, well, we know, because we have a calendar, so we're just going to do 7 days. And the more conservative and observant Jews will do 8 days. Okay, that's so it's which is right, 7 or 8 days. Yes. Okay. Please continue.
The custom on the last night it is to be aware of the dangers of assimilation and slavery, and choose the freedom of an unknown wilderness filled with hope and opportunity. We do this by having the last night's Seder, complete with the Seder plate of matzah, maror, etc. However, instead of just retelling the Mavim, the part of the Seder where we tell the plagues in Exodus, we additionally talk about that evening at the edge of the Red Sea of Reeds. It is a time to discuss the fears that we may have about the responsibilities that come with spiritual freedom. It is a transition time when we remember being slaves and remind ourselves of what we are personally slaves to in our own lives today. It is then an evening where we focus on how we want to live as free men and women.
Just think about it. You're at the Sea of Reeds. You're about to cross it. You can always go back to the comfort of the slavery you've known, or this wilderness that we don't know. Okay, so how am I going to go into this unknown, move forward into this wilderness? So, the secret number of Passover, 4 plus 1. It is not 4, it is not 5. It is 4 plus 1. Okay? And this is my questions, cups of wine, children. So if you take the name of God, the Yud, He, Vav, and He, and you make it vertical, it looks like this image, which looks like a human being. This is the skeleton key that unlocks all of Jewish theology and Jewish mysticism. Is the 4-lettered name. So, who wants to read from page 12? Someone.
Can I pick on my dad?
No.
Can you pick on your dad? He said no, so the answer is no.
Fine, I'll do it. I'll take the blow.
Okay, go. There you go.
Sorry, where am I going? Starting from?
Page 12.
So the secret number of Passover, 4 plus 1, cups of wine and children. The 4 cups of wine, known in Hebrew as arba kosot, are drunk by each participant at the Passover Seder service.
How big does your cup have to be? Has to be at least the size of an olive.
Size of what?
Olive. It can be as much as you want. But it's whatever you pour, that's what you got to drink the whole glass of. This isn't all of them. It's like saying what kind of date. So it can be as little as the size of an olive, but as big as you want. But whatever you pour, you got to drink it all, because you got to finish each cup for a specific reason, and this is the reason. If you don't finish each cup, you don't get this. You don't get the blessing of this. You don't get the benefit of it. So please continue.
This ceremony is prescribed by the Mishnah as a duty to be observed even by the poorest man. The 4 cups are drunk in the following order. Number 1, the Kiddush at the start of the Seder. Number 2, at the conclusion of the main part of the Haggadah, which ends with the Geula, redemption, benediction. Number 3, at the end of the grace after meals. And number 4, at the conclusion of the Nishmat hymn, Yerkat Hashir. Only the 2nd and 4th cups were added for the Seder meal, since the drinking of the 2 other cups forms part of every meal on Sabbaths and holidays. The reason for 4 cups is based by the rabbis upon the Midrashic interpretation of Exodus 6:6-7,
Chapter 6, verses 6 to 7.
Where 4 different terms of deliverance are employed. I will bring you out, deliver you, redeem you, and will take you to me for a people.
So in 4 different places, God is saying that He's going to redeem us in one way or another. And so we have 4 cups. A cup of coming out, a cup of deliverance, a cup of redemption, and a cup of preservation and acceptance. Go on.
Other symbolic explanations for the 4 cups are that they correspond to the 4 cups of Pharaoh mentioned in Genesis chapter 40, or to the 4 ancient kingdoms which oppressed Israel and for which God requires Israel. That's requires?
It's required. It's still an R. It's a required.
With 4 cups of consolation. The text literally says they should provide him with no fewer than 4 cups of wine, leaving the potential of the 5th cup being hidden, but provided in a different way. The understanding is that this refers to the verse, I will bring you into the land. This is a promise for a future. So it is a, quote, hidden cup, as the future world has not yet been revealed. Since the herald of the future times is Elisha, this is one of the reasons that this cup is Elisha's cup.
So 4 plus 1 is what we see throughout the Seder. 4 cups of wine plus a 5th one, Elijah's. Right? There are 4 questions, except there's a 5th one. It's 4 plus 1. What's the plus 1? The first question. First question, why is this night different from all the nights, isn't counted as one of the 4 questions. It's 4 plus 1. How many children are there? Right? 4 plus 1. The good, the evil, the simple, or the wise, the evil, the simple, the one unable to inquire. And then in a traditional Haggadah, there's a big blank space. I once spent time with Rabbi Adam Steinsaltz in a talk. It was a couple hours long, where he only spent the couple hours talking about the 4 children. The whole talk was about that. It's brilliant. When he was done, in a very Orthodox tradition, threw his paper, threw his glasses on the pulpit and stormed off. It's amazing. And for those who don't know, Adam Steinsaltz was one of the great minds of the last century of ever. So Steinsaltz taught this way, that we all know the ones we're talking about. We have the 4 children. The wise son, the wicked son, the simple son, the one who is unable to inquire. Right? So each of these represent a generation of Jew. The wise child is the one who knows what we do and why we do it. Okay? He has a son. And his son's a little rebellious, as I'm told sons sometimes are.
Not true.
I'm going to switch, but you can come here for a while. Anyhow,
It's the little I was commenting on.
oh, they're very rebellious.
Yeah.
So he's wicked. So he has a son. And then this wicked son, he has a son. Now the wise patriarch knows what he's doing and why he's doing it, right? And he's got a son who really isn't that into Judaism. He's got a grandson. Now, what does the grandson know about Passover? The grandson knows that every year he goes to Pesach, goes to Grandpa's house. He knows that every time he's with Grandpa, Grandpa teaches him about Abraham and Isaac and Jacob. And he teaches him about kashrut. He teaches all these things, but it's only when he's at Grandpa's house. It's not in his own house where they have crab cakes up by their Christmas tree. Okay, and then search for Easter bunnies or Easter eggs laid by rabbits. Anyhow, so right, he has all that. So what happens? The patriarch dies, and now the patriarch is the wicked son. Now, he didn't have much Judaism in his house, very little. He has some, and once a year he has Pesach, Passover Seder, and his son comes, and his son, the simple son, he has a child. In that house, there's no Judaism at all. The only Judaism they get is once a year when he goes to his grandpa's house for Passover Seder. Where grandpa, the wicked son, says, we're slaves, we're free, let's eat. Wicked son dies. Patriarch is now the simple son. He does not even have any Seder at all. There is no Judaism there. The one who is unable to inquire has a child, and the reason that's a blank spot is because that child does not even know Passover exists. So it's again 4 plus 1, 4 cups plus 1, 4 questions plus 1. If you look at the 4-letter name on the page before, we have a Hey, a Vav, a Hey, and a Yud. That's 4 letters, but there's a hidden 5th letter to God's name. It's actually not a letter. It's the point at the very top of the Yud. It's called the Kutz of the Yud. An infinitesimally small point. It's the point where God and Adam, are they touching or are they not? Infinitesimally small. And so again, it's 4 plus 1. All right, this is what our pattern is throughout our ritual, our liturgy, our Passover service, and everything else. Okay? Now, this God's name is really, really important. If you are in love, if you are getting married, you know your partner's name, don't you? Their full name. She has a middle name. I know it. I'm not sharing it. Right? There are things you have from intimacy. God's name is Yod He Vav He. We don't pronounce this.
Hold on.
Actually. Eve, we're in a class. Say hi to everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Hi, Eve.
Talk to you later. Bye. Okay. So it is. She might not be too old for you. She might be the right age. Might be a couple of years too old for her, but she might be okay for her. I'm just, yeah. Well, not for you. Okay, so we don't mispronounce the name, right? That's not someone we love. So God's name we don't pronounce out loud, except in meditations and their exceptions. Pretty much we don't pronounce God's name because we don't pronounce it wrong. And those 4 letters are all soft letters. Y can be silent, ya or ja. He can be silent or ha. The vav can be va, wa, o, u. And the he can be ha or silent. Okay? So we don't pronounce it. Except you know what we do? Every single week. We're taught that the Mashiach, the Messiah, is going to come at Havdalah. How many of you have heard that? At Havdalah. The Messiah will come at Havdalah on Saturday night, after Sabbath as well. Okay? And on Saturday night, we chant a prayer. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Hatishbi. Right? How many of you heard that? We sing at the end of Yom Kippur as well. And it literally means Eliyahu Hanavi, Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hatishbi, Elijah the one from Tishbi, Eliyahu HaGiladi, Elijah of Gilead, Bimhera V'yaminu Yavo. Okay, this says right. Okay. But what our Kabbalah teaches, do not see it as Eliyahu Ha-Navi. Rather see it as El Yahu Ha-Navi. So if you look at the letters, right? If you read Hebrew, you have Aleph Lamed is one word, God. And then you have Yud He Vav He. And then you have Navi. Instead of making Eliyahu Ha-Navi, it's El Yahu Ha-Navi. So we actually pronounce God's name every time we chant for Mashiach, when we chant Eliyahu Hanavi. Isn't that interesting? For how many of you is that new cocktail party knowledge you can use? So the idea is that we take this name and all of our Seder is based on it so that we can live. Who would like to read page 14, a little bit more exploration on the name itself starting backwards, the hey, last hey, then the vav, then the hey, then the yud, and then the kutz of the yud. So you understand when we say ha, the yud hey vav hey, el yahuha, what we're actually saying and what the whole service is actually doing. Who would like to read page 14?
Okay, I'll do it.
Go.
Bottom head, purely physical. Messiah, first cup, morning. Blessing.
The morning blessings.
I will take you out. Sanctification, salvation from harsh labor.
So the bottom level, the bottom hay, is about the purely physical world, the world of Asiyah. It's the first cup of wine that we have. Your first cup is all about this. The morning blessing, purely physical, sanctification. Go on. The next letters. So this is going to be your second cup of wine during Passover.
Love, physical, with a little spirituality. Yetzirah, second cup. Kazuki. Zimra.
The Sukkah December, the second section of the morning blessings.
Psalms. I will save you. Redemption. Salvation from servitude.
So the second cup is a cup of redemption. It's physical with a little spiritual. Go on.
Tape. Spiritual with a little physical. Riyah. Third cup. Shema and its blessings. I will redeem you. Blessings. Splitting of the sea of reeds.
So when you have that third cup, it's about more spiritual reality with a little physicality. It's the cup of blessing. And we have our fourth cup. Okay.
Good. Purely spiritual. Atzilut. Fourth cup. Amida. I will take you as a nation. Acceptance. Becoming a nation at Sinai.
So the final cup we have is the cup of acceptance. But there's another cup, isn't there? Elijah's cup. And what does that mean? It's the Kutz Yud.
Kutz of the Yud. Top point. Intention. Hidden fifth cup. Torah reading. And I will bring you. Coming of Messiah and temple rebuilt.
So I have a question. I don't know how long ago I learned this custom, but we've done it all of our lives together. And so I was doing it before that. If Elijah's cup, which we talk about, that he's going to bring Mashiach, he's going to bring Messiah, he's going to bring a time of peace. Who can bring here? Who can bring Elijah here? Just me?
Are you thinking of the Laman Dovniks or
All of us. All of us have our piece that we need to do, not just the 36 righteous ones. Laman Dovniks is the idea that there are 36 righteous mystics of whom we don't know who they are, and it's upon their shoulders that the world rests. And we're all responsible for making a world of peace, aren't we? Are we all responsible for making a time and a space for Mashiach? You know, we say when every Jewish woman has lit the candles twice, or Shabbat candles twice, or when every Jewish male has wrapped the tefillin twice, Messiah will come. Or when none do, God forbid. So there's this beautiful custom. I don't remember who I learned it from. But instead of, how many of you, when you have Elijah's cup, you got the cup of wine on the table with wine in it for Elijah, right? It's a beautiful custom. Have Elijah's cup empty. When it's time to have Elijah's cup, everyone take a little bit of their own wine and put it in Elijah's cup. So we're all contributing to Elijah coming. It's a nice tradition. It's a nice practice. It's kind of like the practice of when you're doing the taking the drops of wine for the plagues, adding what modern plagues are there. Okay, adding them as well. By the way, when you're done with doing your plagues, what do you do with the finger with the wine? Don't lick it. This plague, that plague, this plague, that plague. That's good. Wipe it on the napkin. Okay, just wipe it on the napkin. And those kind of customs. And Pesach is meant to be joyous. It's hard when you're preparing for it, but it's meant to be joyous. As hard as it is preparing for it, once you get into it, the idea is to be happy. And the moment that it becomes onerous, you're missing the point. There's the beautiful story that Rabbi Yitzchak of Berditcha, one of my very favorite Hasidic masters and mystics, Rabbi Levi Yitzchak settled in after a Seder. He was happy, sat down in his chair, very content with how beautiful the Seder was, relaxing, just reveling in the beauty of how perfect the Seder was. There were no fights between family members, Well, the kids acted right. Everyone, it was so beautiful the Seder was in every way, right? And here's a Bakol, here's the voice of God. And it says, more pleasing to me than your Seder was the Seder of Chaim the water carrier. So he, next day comes, he sends his servants out to go find Chaim the water carrier. Well, Chaim lives at the very outskirts of the village. Chaim is the town drunk. So he knocks on the door, right? He knocks on the door, and the wife opens the door to these servants, and they say, we'd like to, is this where Chaim lives? Yes. Can you get him, please? He's still hungover. Okay, can you get him anyhow, please? And the rabbi would like to see him. Rabbi Levi gets him. And in those days and in those places, when the rabbi wanted something, people jumped. And so, I'll just let that hang. And so he comes and he comes, it's all just shell. He comes with the rabbi Levi. Chaim, my beloved Chaim, sit down. So Chaim, tell me, when you were gathering all of the breadcrumbs of the chametz, and when you burned the breadcrumbs in the morning before the Seder, were you concentrating your kavanah, your focus, your intention upon cleansing the world of the evil of the 10 sfirot of the tree of nuts? Tree of nuts. Rabbi, I got to be honest, I forgot to burn it. It's still sitting on my mantle. Chaim, my beloved Chaim, when you got to the place of the first cup of wine, did you recognize the partnership between Hashem and the human being? That as much as we need God for the grapes, God needs us for the wine. And when you said the bracha of blessing over the grapes of the wine, were you conscious of the partnership between your neshama, your soul, and the Holy One's soul, and your Yehud, your Yud? Rabbi, if I'm honest, I don't think I said the blessing, I just downed the glass. Chaim, my beloved one, Chaim, when you got to the issue of the 4 children, did you find inside yourself the wise, the wicked, the simple, the one who is unable to inquire? Most importantly, did you look inside yourself and find that which is so ignorant and absent of your neshama, of your soul, that you desire and yearn to have it awakened so that you can become an integrated, wise child? Rabbi, I don't think we talked about the 4 children last night. Chaim, what did you do last night? Well, Rabbi, I like to drink. And I like my vodka, but vodka is made of grain. And I know for a week I can't drink. So I decided to drink a week's worth of vodka in one day, the day before Pesach. I woke up, it was very late at night. My wife, she said, what are you doing? Chaim, you drunk and sot? Every other Jew in the world is celebrating the Passover, and you're here drunk. What are you doing? I looked at her, and I said with the most honest truth in my heart, I said, what do I know? I'm an ignorant Jew. I know we were slaves then, God made us free. I know we are slaves to a lot of things today. I know God will once again make us free and safe. And then I looked at the beautiful table. She said, I looked at my beautiful wife, and I danced with her until I passed out. Just enjoy the celebration. And Rabbi Levi Yitzhak then said to Chaim, may my place in heaven be next to you. For all of our understanding the 4 letters, and the this and the that, and the brikdas, and the horosis, at the end of the day, it's experiencing God's love for us, and it's experiencing it so deeply that we know that there is peace and freedom, and they're here for us in our time and in the future, and we have faith that that coming future is going to happen, and it's going to happen in our time. So I hope this helped a little bit with Pesach. I hope this makes it a little bit more beautiful and rich for you to share. Please have something else to drink or smoke or eat. And we have services. Oh! You were the only person who got that, and she did. He got it. Recently, not too long ago, we don't have boys watch TV. Not too long ago, we had him watch like a season or 2 of Welcome Back Power.
I quizzed him.
Did you really? Friday night, we have a very, 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 very special service with a very special guest. Eyal Teiberger, the former CEO of 35 years of the Maccabi World Union is going to be in town. He's actually arrived tonight. And Eyal is going to come talk to the temple. We'll have an abbreviated service instead of listening to me give a Torah commentary or whatever, which I may do anyhow. But Eyal is going to talk about Maccabia and Israel and what's really going on in Israel right now. For those of you who are going to come, how many of you are either going to come or thinking about coming to Israel this summer? Okay.
Thinking about it.
So
Just kidding, we're going.
you're thinking about it. He's taking you. You don't have a choice.
How'd you know?
This is a great time. I'm psychic.
You're a mind reader.
I'm psychic. I'm telepathic. I'm telepathetic. I'm psychopath. Anyway, so, this is a great time to talk to him, to ask him about things. It is because of Eyal that this is an extremely special trip in certain ways, that we're invited to this gala the night before the opening ceremonies, that we will have tickets to the opening ceremonies themselves at the Teddy Theater, and that if there's an event that you want to go to, we can arrange for that. Because they have. So this is a great time to come, bring friends if they're interested in going to Israel this summer. Great time to ask questions, talk to someone who is there. There have been many nights when I've talked to him, and he's just come from or going to a bomb the shelter. When I saw him after not seeing him for like 6 months, when he was out here after the wards for like 6 months later, I said, "You lost a lot of weight." He goes, "In the middle of the night, I'm running back and forth to a shelter. Of course I lost weight." So it's going to be a special service Friday night because of that, a special guest, and he's also, he can tell you all sorts of stuff that I just don't know about Maccabia and about Israel and about. I mean, because Maccabia is the biggest event in Israel every 4 years. It is, President Herzog said, it's the most important event of the year, 2025. The most important thing Israel is doing. 300,000 people come to Israel over the course of Maccabia. I think that's the number. It is the biggest thing for the economy of Israel. And so as a result, after being the CEO for 35 years, he gets to hobnob all the time. He was always hobnobbing with the bureaucrats and the politicians. So some of the stuff that I end up sending in daily emails, and I end up getting from him or other sources through that. So hopefully I'll see you all Friday night. Have something to drink. Take home the handouts. They're yours. And I hope this was worthwhile. Yes, sir.
Friday?
What?
What time Friday?
7:30
And the address again.
at the temple.
Okay. I think I have the top of
God knows where it is. All right.
Thank you.
I hope this was